So this vlog post is a little bit of an impromptu one. So I plan to get one out maybe early next week, but I was on Twitter this morning and I noticed a tweet from the university's minister, a guy called Chris Skidmore. And what Chris Skidmore was talking about in a tweet with regards to applications to Oxbridge was the need to raise students' aspirations. Aspiration raising and activity designed to raise aspiration has been really common in discourse around widening access to higher education and increasing the amount of young people who are undertaking degree courses. However, as a tool, especially in recent years, its effectiveness has been questioned. Now, I should probably give you a little bit of background for me. I know I do a lot of vlogs, but I'm actually conducting PhD research, doctoral research at the moment, and the issue that I'm looking at is the white working class males and their expectations for the future in working education. As part of this, I've been doing an awful lot of reading around the idea of aspiration and this message that seems to be delivered by a lot of policymakers that working class students or students from disadvantaged backgrounds have a deficit of aspiration and need their aspirations raising. Now, in a nutshell, if you just wanted to watch this and turn off the video, then what I'm going to say is it's not true and it's not particularly helpful. Here's why. So, if we look at the definition of aspiration, aspiration is a hope or ambition of achieving something. Synonyms for aspiration might be things like hankering or yearning. So it just means a hope that something's going to be the case. Now, reflecting on my own background and experiences, I would say that I probably aspired to be a Premier League footballer when I was young. That was my hope or ambition of something that I would like to achieve. What I expected to be was probably a plumber or an electrician. The reason for that is I knew people within my social network. I had access to the social and cultural resources and information that would frame being a plumber as something that I could expect to do. I had all of the resources or all of the tools that I needed at my disposal to be able to frame that career trajectory as something that was probable or likely to be the case. I still aspired to be a Premier League footballer, but what I expected was probably to be a plumber or an electrician. And that is a big difference. When you talk about aspiration raising and the idea that students lack aspiration, then what you are doing firstly is placing responsibility onto the student, saying you don't aspire towards something, therefore you are in deficit, you lack an aspiration and you need fixing. And what that has done is engendered a lot of activity which is designed by universities to encourage students to hope to attend university later down the line. Now, unless you're doing an awful lot of activity alongside that to scaffold that aspiration and provide step-by-step tools in which students can develop all of those skills and experiences that they're going to need to be successful, then it's pretty unfair. So, with that in mind, wouldn't be looking at what students could expect to go on to do after school be more useful? I can understand why it's favoured with governments, because it places responsibility for students from this, working class or disadvantaged background for them not attending a Russell Group university on them. However, with expectation, what you are saying is we've got work here to do to level the playing field. Actually, what we need to do within our education system is create a climate whereby students are given the tools to achieve that goal if that's what they want to do. And they're two very different things. For the last 10 years or so, we've been speaking about students needing their aspirations raising or a deficit of aspiration. There is now tens of journal articles and pieces of research that contest that idea of a deficit. Some say actually students' aspirations for the future are already pretty high. They've just got no mechanisms by which to achieve them. Other research says, well, yeah, you know what, aspirations are important, but that needs to be combined with the students' expectations and their academic attainment. Either way, just looking at raising aspiration and seeing that as a silver bullet to increase participation in higher education is just a bit of a fantasy. At best, it's going to be an ineffectual tool, and at worst, with regards to that deficit model that I spoke about, it's going to be actively harming these students, giving them the hope or the ambition of aspiring to a profession or a particular degree at a particular university that they don't have the resources available to them to achieve. So please, please, please stop using raising aspiration as something that is effective when it comes to widening access to higher education, because by itself it's not. At best, ineffectual, at worst, actively harmful. So how about we start having conversations with regards to the things that we can do as practitioners, whether that be teachers, whether that be people who are working at higher education institutions, in outreach teams. We need to have a serious conversation about the tools, the social, cultural, economic resources that we can provide for these students to give them a real chance of attending Russell Group universities, if that's what they want to do. I'd also argue that at the moment we live in a political, social climate where it's seen as if you don't attend a Russell Group university or university in general, then you've failed. If you don't achieve A's in your GCSEs, then you failed. So that's a much wider issue than the initial kind of theme of this vlog, which was around raising aspiration, but it links in very, very closely. In conclusion, I guess what I'm saying is stop using raising aspiration and advertising it as a mechanism whereby the playing field is going to be levelled and we're going to have more working class students accessing higher education and elite institutions, because it doesn't work and research has proven that. And let's start having a conversation about the different ways that we can approach this situation to level the playing field and give students a real opportunity to enter into these elite institutions if it's something that they want to do. Also, if you'd like to hear more from me, then please like, subscribe and share.